Versatile Mage. Chapter 276. Epic Battle Against the Cavern Slaves. There were 3 people in the team with fire element: Mo Fan, Song Chia, and Zhao Mingyu. The 3 immediately cast fire burst at the vines on both sides of the tunnel. Since they were using burning bones, the vines were burned away quickly. When the vines finished burning into scorched ashes, the group immediately realized that there were 2 other caves close to them. The cavern slaves coming from the front and the rear were scary, but they could still hold them off with their magic. A potential ambush right beside them was the scariest, since it would catch the group off guard, and the magic they cast would also cause friendly fire if they panicked. Those in the middle of the group should try and eliminate the cavern slaves in the caves nearby as soon as possible. Lu Zhenghe shouted furiously above the noise in the tunnel. Mo Fan was quite surprised. Lu Zhenghe might be arrogant, but he knew what he was doing as a commander. He was most likely the person that told them to burn the vines down. Their priority now was to eliminate the cavern slaves in the nearby caves, as they could not be allowed to come close to the team. The biggest difference between the magicians and the demon beasts was not power, but the fact that magicians were far weaker when it came to close quarters combat. A single swing of the bone stick would hit like a hydraulic hammer. Despite being elites in their respective schools, it was difficult for them to control the situation straight away when their lives were endangered all of a sudden. The student from the Imperial College called Xiao Feng found himself in an extremely dangerous position, as he was flanked by 2 cavern slaves at the same time. Bright Mirror Shield. Xiao Feng activated his shield in the nick of time. However, the cavern slaves were not as slow-witted as he had imagined. The bone stick that was aimed at his chest was repelled, but the other was aimed straight at his calf, where there was no protection. The bone stick made direct contact with his right calf, as Xiao Feng could not dodge in time. The horrifying sound of cracked bone rang out instantly. "Ah, help! Ah!" Xiao Feng screamed in agony, and before he could withdraw, his left calf received the second blow. His 2 legs, solid and muscular a few seconds ago, were smashed flat, leaving pulped flesh and bone behind. Blood splattered everywhere, as everything below Xiao Feng's knees was shattered. He subconsciously crawled toward his teammates on the ground in extreme pain. It was shocking enough that he could still stay conscious, due to magicians having stronger minds than ordinary people. His calves had been directly shattered. Ice spread. As the group finally realized that Xiao Feng was separated from them, Muningzhu was the first to react by casting her ice element spell. The layer of frost spread rapidly across the ground, turning the area where the 2 cavern slaves were into an icy white zone. The icy mist immediately covered their eyes. The ice spread won't be enough to save him. Peng Liang immediately acted as he was aware that the spell ice spread needed some time to freeze the target. By then, Xiao Feng would already be crushed to pieces. However, as soon as Peng Liang arrived in front of Xiao Feng, the movements of the 2 ferocious cavern slaves suddenly came to a stop. In just less than a second, the not-so-muscular legs of the cavern slaves were covered in a layer of ice. The ice spread froze their flesh first, before completely freezing the blood in their legs. It totally stopped the 2 cavern slaves from moving, and they cried out in anger. They were totally unaware of the ice spread climbing up the bodies, swiftly freezing them solid. A moment later, the only body parts that they could move were their muscular arms. They were turned into ice statues. Peng Liang opened his mouth wide, finding it hard to believe. Normally, the freezing effect of ice spread would need at least 4 seconds to work. However, Muningzhu's ice spread had done it in less than 2 seconds. It was way too fast, even faster than those with a spirit-grade ice seed. "Ah, ugh!" Xiao Feng continued to scream in pain, before he was rescued from the jaws of death by Peng Liang with his fleeing shadow. "I'll take care of him." Bai Tingting was standing right in the center of the team. She was no doubt the one protected the most by the team. When Peng Liang placed Xiao Feng on the ground, Bai Tingting had already completed the casting of her healing spell. A light green drop of liquid slid off Bai Tingting's fingertip and was sprinkled on Xiao Feng's legs. The glowing liquid slowly penetrated into Xiao Feng's injured body parts. When the liquid finally covered his mangled legs, Xiao Feng finally stopped screaming in pain. "I'm providing you some relief from the pain. It will take me some time to heal you," Bai Tingting said to the pale-faced Xiao Feng. Xiao Feng wiped the combination of tears and mucus from his face. He had almost lost his life just a few moments ago, so he could not care less about his image. "Help the others first. I'm fine." The healing liquid was like a strong anesthesia. "Xiao Feng, are you all right?" Ming Kong asked in a worried tone, while casting a lightning strike. "I was almost dead. Luckily Ningzhu reacted quickly enough." Xiao Feng wiped the sweat on his forehead. He knew that now was not the best time to chat. They had to clear out the beasts on both sides as soon as possible. Otherwise, they would be in grave trouble. At the very front, Zheng Bingshao's rock golem stood no chance against the cavern slave's attacks. Only half of its body remained after receiving countless blows from the beasts. "Zheng Bingshao, withdraw your summoned beast," Zhao Manting said. Zheng Bingshao swiftly withdrew the half-crippled rock golem. At the same time, he could sense a strong watery mist in his surroundings. He looked back and saw Zhao Manting casting an intermediate water spell, summoning rolling waves like a dam had just burst, which surged forward with a great roar. The furious tide reached almost half the height of the tunnel. It dragged the cavern slaves that were closest to the group with it and continued to roll forward ferociously. The efficiency of an intermediate spell was instantly displayed. The number of cavern slaves coming from the front was the highest, and the rolling tide was enough to hinder their advance. "My turn," Song Chia shouted as she began to cast an intermediate fire spell on her wrist. Several cavern slaves were still trying to recover from the impact of the fierce tide when they were terrified by the approaching fiery fists. A bright glow lit the entire tunnel up. The beasts that could not dodge in time let out cries of agony as they were burnt into ashes by the giant fists, leaving only the stench of burned flesh behind. Chapter end. Please guys like, comment, share, and subscribe.